Click the links for Odysee Bitch Sheet or make a video request on coffee. I hate everything about this lady already. This bar lady, relation to Roseanne Barr Unknown, was saying how Canon is irrelevant. And not to be too blunt, but she is a parasite. A tick that attaches itself to a source of nutrients, poisons its host, sucks it, then moves on to spread her disease. When they say Canon doesn't matter, they're taking the mask off. This is also how a globalist parasite views the world. Everything is a commercial zone for them to exploit and destroy. I was going to say, you don't want to hire them, but who do you think controls Disney? They are globalists. Nothing matters to them but spreading propaganda. No, money is not the bottom line. Propaganda is. The lower level useful idiots aren't quite into the big picture, but to them a property is just name recognition to get eyeballs, and it will work if you can make something that clicks. But if you make Batman a POC lady, it's not going to click with anyone. If she is skinny and feminine, then which she is in the show season 2, she's not believable because she's like 115 pounds. But if she's huge and hulked out, then nobody wants to see that. If you want a chick in costume in one of these spandex type roles, you make her the cute, funny sidekick. Bikini Spring Break is a low-budget 2012 film by Cohen and I think The Asylum. It's not anybody's idea of art, but its only goal was to make money. It did it by being stupid funny, and it had a half dozen moderately cute 20-somethings who had good chemistry together and ran around in bikinis doing stupid low-budget things. It got the male gaze. Now, for comparison, go try and watch Batwoman. I watched season 2, episode 17, a bunch of POC on very gray sets who are whispering to each other to sound serious. Everything is dark and whispery, which can work, but the diversity doesn't. Here is the blunt advice on how to do this. If the lead is the black chick, then that is enough diversity. Everyone else has to be European. That's the only way to sell it. That's not politically correct, but it's the truth, which is a lot better than a lie. On a side note, the bad guys are 90% European skinheads with a black skinhead thrown in there, except they all look like actors, not gang members. And I mean, they don't look like actors trying to play gang members. I mean, they just look like actors at an audition. Anyway, very few people are into the Batwoman comic or the show. It could be cool because it has a bunch of cute chicks in it, but everything they wear is loose fitting, and they're always wearing jackets to hide the boobs and the butts. No male gaze, but also no gaze at all. It's a show with the name Batwoman, but it's something else. I have to assume nobody is watching it other than to laugh at it, but it's an SJW's sort of wet dream. All women and POC, no male viewers, no female viewers either, though. It doesn't need any. It just exists to exist. It's like a modern art piece with a quantum flair. Does it exist if nobody watches it? The thing about chick flicks is that they are romances with men. That's how you market it to women. Romance, maybe branch out into the romantic comedy. That's it. It's pretty simple. Don't get me wrong. Men they're not exactly watching Shakespeare. They can be grabbed with skinny girls with tits. But Lifetime and Hallmark and Bikini Spring Break are giving people what they want. Where SGW Star Wars or whatever, they're not even high art, and they bring nothing to the table. Instead, they bend you over the table, and they F you in the A. You showed up looking for Star Wars, and Kathleen Kennedy whips out her footlong and slips you the tip. Unfortunately, she follows it up with the rest. Then while she's doing that, she is saying that you deserve it for being a sexist. First of all, representation and inclusion is developmentally disabled bundles of stickery. If you want to create something and make it a diverse abortion, go for it. Every so often an SJW will try. They'll do a BLT, PLC comic or a show from scratch like a Mags or Joe Glass type of thing. But nobody wants it. And to be fair, getting new comics off the ground now for the Marvel and DC crowd is impossible. Not next to impossible, but impossible. The country has changed too much. The demographics don't have enough white kids such that you can stock a store with comics just for them. Their numbers have dropped too far to support that type of industry, and other groups aren't picking up the slack. Then you combine that with the competition for their money at the $4 level, or think of it as $4 per time increment of entertainment versus video games, streaming videos, including free YouTube, Odysee, BitChute, Gab TV, and social media in general. Every minute they're on Twitter is a minute they're not, watching your product. I'm listening to Michael Bancroft from Comicsgate's Australia's contingent right now. I would rather listen to a lot of Comicsgate streams than watch most of the stuff that's out there on film. Comics at $4 are too overpriced when you do the math for inflation. Then you factor in that they're not collectible anymore because the writers are literally anti-white Marxists, and they're proud of it. So a big chunk of the buyers are older collectors whose kids hate it, so that their kids won't buy it. So every year the audience shrinks because you're not getting that future generation, which is very, very short-term thinking. They're writing anti-white misandrist comics to sell to European males, which is, of course, what a crazy person does. If my audience is Russians, then the Russians are going to be the good guys. The bad guys are someone other than the Russians. You make them the Chinese, the Middle East, or the Africans. But right now, Hollywood and comics think that their audience is, in order, African, Middle Eastern, Far Eastern, and some Spanish, but only if it's mixed with African. Basically, they're marketing to the smaller potential audience that they can find, because usually the virtue signal, the darker, more distinct the features are, the better, even if they don't buy the product. It doesn't matter. It's like I said, it's like Heidner's comic or show in a box. So regarding Canon, look at it from their perspective. They're parasites. Asking them to create sort of isn't fair. It takes a soul to create. Commies don't have souls. SGWs are doing too much too fast with propaganda. They're taking someone who just lost their cherry and doing some crazy BDSM thing. They just aren't warmed up for it, and most people are just never going to be into that sort of thing. And if you force it on them, they're going to walk away. This bar chick doesn't know she doesn't have a soul. She thinks she is a real person. She isn't. She's an NPC. She isn't self-aware. She actually isn't capable of understanding why she's evil because other people aren't really real to her. They're just cattle to be milked and slaughtered. Then you factor in the globalist need for the humiliation ritual, and what they're doing starts to make sense. The fact that we have to do fourth age type videos on why canon matters is a sign of how far the cancer has progressed. It's the plastic fuck doll of pop culture. It's faux Star Wars. Is it a rose? It smells as sweet. But is it a rose? Will a bee alight on it? No, but a rose by any other name. It's better than a rose. It's glass. It never dies, but it also never lives. A rose like this grows from a fertile imagination, blooms, withers, and dies. Why does canon matter? If you even ask that, you have identified yourself as a propagandist, which Bar is. She is a shadow person. She never lived. Nothing matters to her. She is real, her tribe perhaps, but the rest of humanity is as cattle. They're fungible. They're just commodities to be bought and sold. This is her whole cause for war. Ultimately, Star Wars is not high art. It's a shadow of the higher dimensions of what is high art, and they are the shadows of higher dimensions of mythology, which are of the gods. So is Star Wars important? Yes. Take a closer look at Luke Skywalker. Luke defeats evil by redemption of a demon. Together they team up to throw Lucifer from his throne and give man a new chance to thrive. Disney had to corrupt and make it filthy and meaningless and cheap. They raised Lucifer and created a false prophet to defeat him, or at least his illusion, and made it meaningless. because Disney is run by rootless, soulless globalists who have to destroy anything impactful that even tangentially touches on Europa or Christianity. Blonde Luke going on the hero's journey to defeat evil is not something the vermin at Disney could let stand. They paid billions for a chance to tear it down, and I'm out of paper. So aloha and mahalo, and I'll see you guys all next episode.